Welcome back to K24 this morning. It's your newspaper reviewer in the second half right now. First half was talking about matters health, and of course the averted health strike, and of course 14 days from now we are hoping that there will be a solution as far as the demands of the medics are concerned. We'll wait and see how that plays out. But now it's all about 5 million signatures and where to next. That really is a question right now. Seems like there could be a fork in the road for some of these proponents of this particular debate. In studio, Charles Munyui, Gloria Oroba, and Joel Mwita as we take through this particular discussion. Right now, as it stands, it seems like the overwhelming sentiment right here, as they're talking about it, how he softened his stance. Dr. Ruto, that's in the front page of the Standard. When you look at the front page of the Star, they're talking about the BB dilemma for DP Ruto, reducing his tough demands on that one. Front page of the PD, I won't lead the no campaign against BBI, Ruto declares. Gloria, so are we having a situation where we all say yes? Is there a need then for this really to be a referendum?
You know, I think the Tanga guys saw this coming because, you know, William Ruto is the deputy president and this initiative is being pushed by his boss. So if there is one thing that he cannot do, even if he does not believe in the whole process and the content of the BBI, he cannot go against his boss because that is not ideal. So I think what we've been witnessing is him trying to express his concerns with the content of the BBI, him trying to express his concerns with the process and also with the timing. So I think at the very beginning, and this is why people are confusing that with being a watermelon. At the very beginning, he said, you know, at this moment, we are having the pandemic and we absolutely should not be talking about anything else but how we're going to equip our medical centers, how we are going to, you know, make sure that we are ready for the fate that is awaiting us. So that is why the Tanga Brigade were pushing for a consensus. And people have been asking, what kind of a consensus? What do you mean by that? I think the issue was, the first thing that came out and was very obvious is the process with which this whole Building Bridges initiative was being carried was not transparent. There was an issue with the process. There was an issue with how we were, first of all, excluding certain people from the 14-member task force, certain people meaning for instance, the youth. There was an issue with the transparency of the meetings. There was an issue with how those within the task force were either appending their signatures towards certain amendments or whatever. There was an issue with that whole process. And that was the first consensus that the Tanga guys were pushing. They were saying, can we at least agree with the process? This is the process that we want to use, and let everybody agree that, fine, this process is transparent and we're going to take it. And then the other thing is the content. When BBI 1 came out, there was no debate. Everybody clapped. We said that these are things we can implement, most of them being administrative, others being legislative. And BBI 1 never had an expanded executive. So it was, everyone was okay with BBI 1. And then there was this conversation that came about, like, now that you have the document, you need to now go and get the goodwill of the people, because, you know, it is the people who have the power. So the task force decided to start the campaigns. Now, during the campaigns, the people then came and said, actually, our plight has not been represented. Us as the pastoralists, us as the people with disability, we don't feel like you've covered ABC. So that's where all the other issues came about. So at the end of the day, when I think about the position that the deputy president is taking, I actually empathize with him, because how do you remove yourself from an illegitimate process, from some form of conmanship, from a negative initiative that is dividing the country? How do you remove yourself from it without upsetting your boss? You know, so, and I think that is the reason. I think yesterday you heard him say, if you guys think you're going to force me into a contest, he has already said he's not going to participate. And to me, if you ask me, that is his way of saying, I am not going to lead a yes campaign, and I'm not going to lead a no campaign. And that is why he's pushing for the multiple choice referendum, because the moment you put all the 6 amendments that affect the Constitution, if you put them into multiple choices, you're no longer asking Jeff to vote yes or no. You're asking Jeff to either vote for a National Youth Commission, to either vote for the ombudsman being appointed or elected in this way or that way. You know, you're voting for issues. So we are back to uniting the country. And that's any normal Kenyan who is living in this pandemic right now will tell you that is the way to go.
Okay, I want to get to Joel on this one very quickly, even before Charles responds to what Gloria has said, Joel. And I want to bring the media into focus, even as we talk about this, because the skew that the media is taking on this one is Raila does this, Ruto says that, yet in the middle there's a lot of education that needs to take place concerning the report, engagement on the report itself. And even if we went down the path of having multiple questions on this particular referendum, if the people haven't gotten sufficient information on it, it still is dead in the water. What's your assessment on this particular debate that really is not talking about the report, but what Ruto is going to do, what Raila is going to do as a conversation instead of the report itself?
Yeah, Jeff, it is unfortunate that people have reduced the BBI document to individuals. And this is not health for our country. Even most of the people who comment about BBI, most of them have not read it. They check things on Twitter, Facebook, and also comment on the same. So there is a great need for all of us to ensure that we read this particular document very well. And it is a constitutional moment. Chapter 16 of our constitution, exactly Article 255, 256, and also 257, it gives a room for amendment of our constitution, and it is a constitutional right, and it is put there. And therefore, if some leaders who come across this particular BBI and give a view on how they want things to be done in this Republic of Kenya, it is also for us, could be prudent for us to read it. And that is why we are saying that it is very unfortunate for us to reduce these things to 2 or 3 people to ensure that they read. And in terms of ensuring how that it can be done, the Constitution put very clear rules and procedures on how the referendum can be done. In fact, even in terms of how the questions will be framed, how many questions will be framed, that is the work of IBC with approval of the National Assembly. So if we are not very clear with what we want exactly, when the IBC frame the questions, then taken to the National Assembly, it could be prudent for the National Assembly, because it sits the people whom we've elected, to say that we wanted 2 or 3 questions and we don't want only 1 question. It is basically on a choice. In Scotland in 2014, when they were doing their referendum, they had a multiple of issues and they gave 1 question. In Kenya, we can do a completely different thing. And in the same country, we saw the first minister, Nicola, who was actually saying things against the prime minister. And since it is a constitutional right for them to do the same, then they were allowed to do that. So I think in Kenya, let us allow everyone to give their views and express themselves the way they want to express themselves, so that we can move this country forward and we stop reducing the BBI issue to 2, 3 people or 4 people based on our personal interest.
It's interesting you say that, because I think Scotland will actually might be having a referendum next year, 2021, if all goes as planned there, but we'll wait and see how that plays out. Charles, yes. It seems like the issue of BBI depends on who is talking about anything. For example, when the NCIUC Chair Commission, Jeremiah Kioni, was speaking about how, in their perspective, what they think would work, and this was way before we got into where we are, probably have this referendum tied in with the election. It's tidier, costs less as far as that's concerned, and leaves people to actually work up until the point where these campaigns can take place. And people thought that that was a good idea. When the deputy president comes up with that, everyone is up. There's a huge political divide on this particular issue. Why this particular game when everyone is trying to essentially get to the same end goal, which, as they're calling in the standard, Damascus, that is?
Jeff, thanks. I think most of these people who are talking, I agree with my friend, they have not read the report. Yeah? Even media houses are actually talking about a BBI report. It's no longer a BBI report. Now we are talking about a bill, a specific bill to amend the Constitution, because the bill has been split into policy issues, proposals, administrative and legislative, statutory registration that are already in their due process so that they can end up being implemented, as it were. So now we are left with 1 bit of the amendment to the Constitution. How did we get here, Jeff? There were 9 issues that were raised, that was documented between the Honorable Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto. Now we know William Ruto actually provided 3 steering committee members to the team. Yeah? And when you give a task force a role, a function, you don't tell them how to operate. You just give them the framework. This is what we need to resolve. How do we resolve it? We resolve it through policy issues, we resolve it through administrative issues, we resolve it through legislation, statutory, and amending the constitution. So the issue of amending the constitution is not open-ended. It's about the 9 broad issues that were identified. How do you heal them in good time? So if an issue arises where you require to amend the constitution to heal one or more of the 9 issues, then you do that. That was the proposal, that was a recommendation. It was not just about opening up the whole constitution to all issues out there. That is a reality, and that's why if we don't appreciate that and appreciate that the amendment to the constitution that we are dealing with right now, the issues raised are about the 9 issues that are there. Anything outside that? No. Having said that, it is strange because if you look at the process, like my brother has said, we have a clear provision in the constitution in Article 257. The other day we almost went to a referendum, Punguza Mzigo. Nobody told Punguza Mzigo, you guys did not involve us, you never called us. Gloria here can wake up tomorrow. As long as she collects 1 million signatures from Kenyans, she can take us to a referendum.
But Gloria doesn't have government resources.
Just a minute. I'm just saying.
That's the difference.
If Gloria, these are 9 issues, broad issues. That's what we are saying. Gloria can identify one issue that affects most of us Kenyans, and if supported by 1 million Kenyans, and that is a provision in the constitution in Article 257, and also then together with 255 on what can take us to a referendum. No, allow me to finish because
I'm coming to you, Gloria.
You'll have all the time to respond, because when I'm on national television, I like being honest, because where I come from, we say if you don't tell the truth, then you'll go to hell, and I don't want to go to hell. Sitaki kukosa moyo, as it were. What we are trying to say is this: the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya was part of this. A task force was formed, it went and gave a recommendation. It's not necessarily what he would have wanted to hear. And those recommendations were appreciated at Bomas, the so-called Bomas 1. The same report that talked about a prime minister, Gloria has said here, it did not talk about an expanded executive. The same report, BBI 1, talked about the position of prime minister. It talked about all those positions, and it is there, it is on record. And we can quote that here. I'm sure you can put it on record here so that Gloria can actually see it broadcast out there. What we are saying is validation after that and picking out the issues in terms of the resolutions is what is being dealt with right now. So for William Ruto, my take is that when you say we suspend implementation of some of these solutions that affect people right now, in the coming elections, there are people who will be very unhappy, and if they become leaders of the opposition in parliament to check government, that sorts out something else. People don't have to go swearing themselves in. It resolves an issue immediately, not 5 years later. His Excellency the Deputy President has seen very nice things in BBI that talk about the hustler nation and all those other things. Why would he want that to wait for 5 years? Because we do, if it's tied to the elections in 2022 and implementation thereafter, maybe 5 years later, people in Mount Kenya region and Nairobi and other places that are, heavily populated, they would like an extra constituency and the funds that come with the same. How do they wait for 5 years so that can be resolved? What we are saying is that is the issue right there. Okay. In terms of the multiple choices, we have promoters of this bill. They have identified issues that need amending in a bill, and they have collected 5.2 million signatures. They required only 1 million signatures. IBC confirms they have 1 million signatures. That bill should go to the people as it is, because it will have a minimum of 1,000,002 people who are supporting it. So give it to Kenyans as it is, as one bill. Do you support this issue? Because you might resolve one issue that you like, because you have the people, you have the majority. But what about that person from Northeastern who is asking for an extension on the affirmative action called Equalization Fund for another 10-year sunset provision? What does he do when he cannot be able to afford the numbers that you have to pass that particular one? So let us allow this process, because it's about healing issues that have been identified. Let us allow it to go as it is so that you benefit, I benefit. Na kama itaanguka, then watu wote pia wajua wameanguka wote. Si ati ni kamoja kamepita kamtu fulani and the other persons are not getting it. That's my point right there.
Gloria, what's your rejoinder on this? The big issue is the fact that it's a government machinery behind the process.
The first thing I want to point out is that it is government sponsored. Punguza Mzigo was never government sponsored. And when I hear him saying, Gloria, you can go and collect your 1 million signatures and find your own initiative and push for your own referendum, I would love to do that if I would get the same amounts of money from government that they have spent on this initiative. The moment you go into the public kitty and pick our money and start telling us that you're doing this for the good of us, you must then involve us and you must listen to us. So for me, they should stop telling us that go and start your own referendum unless they're saying, here is 10 billion Kenya shillings, Jeff, go and start your... If you give me 10 billion, please, I'll shut up. I will let you run with your Building Bridges initiative, and then I will go and start my Punguza Mzingo 2.1. So they should stop telling us to take it as this is the first one, everyone has a right to start the other one, because they are already spending our resources. Right. That's the first thing. The second thing, when he said that the deputy president was involved, yes, he picked 3 members of the task force. But remember, at the beginning he said, when I was called to unite Kenyans, I was informed that this is a handshake process. We are going to build bridges. We are going to bring all these 47 tribes and counties together, and we are going to make sure that this country is going through a healing process. He was not told we are going to amend our constitution and expand the executive and create a position for Raila Odinga because we always must calm him down. Because, you know, he said that once BBI goes, it is an immediate remedy so that people don't go and swear themselves in. Who else in this country has ever had the guts to swear themselves in as president? Who else other than Raila Odinga? You understand? So are you telling me that we have created a whole initiative to calm down former Prime Minister Raila Odinga? And that is what is coming out, and that is what is clear. And by the way, as we are speaking about that, you spoke. You spoke, and you were very clear that people will not go. No, people will not go to swear themselves in. And I'm just asking, who else in this country has gone and sworn themselves in as the president of the people other than Raila Odinga? It's just a question. Nobody else. Okay, so are you telling me that this initiative we're doing is to ensure that in the event that Raila Odinga runs for presidency and he loses, we must make sure that he does not swear himself in. We must make sure that he does not throw us into chaos. Are you saying that's the reason why we are doing this initiative?
But so Gloria, with that, let me conclude. Charles, please, some order, Charles.
No,
I hear you, Charles. And Gloria, what I'm asking is because when Dr. Ruto at Chatham House, when he addressed the House and actually did with the fact that we should have,
I need to get the question.
We should have a leader of opposition who would be essentially the second runner-up. At that point, he didn't think like he was doing that to appease.
And this is why I'm saying, when we are having these conversations and coming here to talk about this initiative, we should desist ourselves from bringing it down to a personality. When you tell me people don't go out and swear themselves in, the immediate person that I know who went out and swore himself in is Raila Odinga. So if we are going to create the leader of opposition, we should create it not in the assumption that we are doing this for one individual. That is the conversation I'm saying we should have. So, and when the other thing that he said that I would like to see proof, when he says that BBI 1 had the expanded executive, I have read BBI 1. There was no expanded executive. Why would you come and tell us? They had a conversation about it, and remember, 2 nights before the launch, it was mysteriously removed from the document because there was a heightened, you know, like, why are they going to add these positions? By the time they went to bomb us the first time to present BBI 1, there was nothing about the expanded executive in that document. So to say that it was there and this is a continuation, that's a lie. That's an outright lie. So for some of us who have read BBI 1, BBI 2, BBI 3, and all the other BBIs that he's saying are on social media, which he claims social media is not our true source of information. And by the way, I beg to differ with that. I have read all these documents. So when I sit here and I tell you, no one had a problem with BBI 1, it is because it did not push for personal interest. It was actually addressing the issues of building bridges. So, in conclusion, because I want to conclude, in conclusion, my take on this initiative is, it is a process that is needed, yes. It is actually a process that is needed. Nobody is arguing and saying we don't need it. But what we must ask ourselves is, what is the rush? What is so urgent? Because if you ask me what is urgent is our healthcare, What is urgent is us our kids going back to school. What is urgent is that, by the way, the Kenya shilling is at what against the dollar. That is what is urgent. And the economic crisis because of the mismanagement of the public debt of this country. Those are the things that are urgent, not building bridges initiative.
I want to bring Joel in on this one as you two take a sip of water to calm down the temperatures right there. Joel, it might sound like a pedestrian question, this one, but when Kenyans say that, okay, fine, they have this particular bill that's supposed to unite, you know, about 50 million Kenyans, yet these three at the top can't, you know, get into a room and get to the bottom of the real issues right there. In your perspective, because with all these issues that we're saying that DP Ruto now is backed up to a corner, Raila is saying that if you have a problem, you can, you know, start your own referendum or lead the no campaign. What makes it so hard for the two principals of the BBI process and the DP to sit in a room, go for a retreat somewhere, as you see politicians do, and come out having thrashed out these issues?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jeff. Number one, even before I answer that particular question, I would like to tell my friend Gloria that almost all the referendums that have been done in the world, in Asia, Egypt, Morocco, Eritrea has done, Asia, Hong Kong, Singapore has done, Europe, the Brexit, all the referendum are funded by the government. I don't know if he has one which was funded by an individual, he can as well tell us which one was that and where it was done. So let us not mix these issues. Second, one thing that I would like to say that BBI was meant to unite Kenyans. It was not meant to divide Kenyans. And what we can urge our leaders, the three topmost leaders, the president, the deputy president, and the right honorable prime minister, that these are the things that we have given them mandate to ensure that they run this country of ours in harmony and in good faith. And therefore, any small difference in terms of interest should not make this particular country to go to drain. So these are things that I think we can even ask our religious leaders to pray for them. You know, some of these things need a lot of prayers so that we can have this country run with people who know God, people who respect God and the will of people, so that we can move this particular country. And it is also a responsibility of all of us to ensure that we support this kind of process wherever there is misunderstanding. Therefore, as young people of this republic, as the old as our mothers, then can we come with alternative, which is a solution, rather than we stop criticizing everything, so that if, as a country, we have people who give more of solution rather than complaining every day, we can move forward. Excuses can never grow a country. Excuses can never take you somewhere better that we desire as a country to live in. So as we are saying that we are urging our leaders to rise above the occasion and ensure that they use this particular BBI to unite all of us, because in one way or the other we trust our leaders, and we know that our leaders, according even to the big book, the Bible, it says that we should respect them, and therefore the same respect we give it to them, then they should not misuse it and start dividing us in one way or the other. So there is a moment, and we are saying that we need to pray also for our leaders to ensure that we move in the right direction as a country.
Okay, I just have a couple of tweets I want to look at here before we wrap this up. Rachel, at Rachel, V1, just retweeting an article that's in the Star Kenya, claiming that some people who are caught violating curfew hours were told to sign the BBI document in order to get their freedom. This is the story that's actually in your copy of the Star. You can get that particular story right there. We also have another tweet from at Vinasir saying, the problem with this country is that there are two types of people in Kenya. People who think the government of Kenya is looking out for them and their best interests with this BBI nonsense, and then there are people who think, period. Okay, so keep those tweets coming in. We'll be looking at them, of course, even as we wind up this particular conversation. But this is where we'll have to draw the curtains today, as far as this conversation is concerned. I know there's still a lot that needs to be said between Charles and Gloria.
I needed to say something, Jeff. You cannot just leave me hanging. Gloria has not read the report. And help her read the report.
No.
Let me explain to her what I mean.
5 seconds,
and 5 seconds exactly. BBI 1 was not about the solutions. BBI 1 was about identifying the issues. Team being sent out again was about validation of the report as it was. And by the way, BBI 1 was applauded by no less a person than the Deputy President himself. He said it's good. The solutions are as a result of the report that were given, plus validation. Those two things were done. What we are interacting with right now is the solutions that were issued to the report that was given in BBI 1. That's a fact. The position of Prime Minister was right there. It was recommended, it was talked about, it was floated, and like you have rightfully told her, the Deputy President has talked about the position of official leader of opposition in Parliament, himself, personally, recorded and documented. So let us be honest with each other and tell each other the truth. Like I said, I would hate for Gloria not to see the heavens because she's not being honest.
This is how we leave it at this point. What we'll do is, as we wind up the show, Charles and Gloria will have a sit down. You'll go through those two reports. And of course, from there, come out better educated. Charles Munyu, thank you so much for your time this morning. Gloria Oroba, we are run out of time, Gloria. We've run out of time on this one. Thank you so much for your time as well. Gloria Oroba, Joel Mwita as well, thank you so much for your time this morning. Of course, going through the big stories of the day, and of course, your invaluable contribution. Keep them coming in. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or at K24 TV. Take a short break. We are back on the other side as we get interactive. Good morning.